Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. I've interviewed Satinder Brar before. She is a registered psychotherapist, and we talked the first time about COVID-19 and dealing with self-isolation and social isolation and issues about mental health during COVID-19. And I noticed after the fact that she also has quite a good business in relationship counseling, and she did a bunch of podcasts and seminars and workshops on relationships, and she talks about the 5 love languages, which I'm a real fan of. And so I thought I'd have her back to talk a little bit about relationships. So Satinder, hello, how are you today?
Good. How are you, Brian?
Very well. So tell me, what do you do with relationship counseling? How does that work?
I work with a lot of couples who come in because they're having some sort of conflict, and they want to improve the quality of their relationship and work on understanding each other better. I also will work with individuals who may have had either difficulty entering a relationship or difficulty staying in a relationship. So often we'll work on them understanding some of the issues that they've gone through and how they are functioning with other people.
Right. And when you say you work with it, tell me logistically what happens, both sort of regular time and now during COVID-19. Do people come into your office? Do they lie down on the floor, on the couch, sit in a chair across a coffee from you? What's the sort of process?
Normally, pre-COVID, people would come into my office. I have a private practice in downtown Milton, in a beautiful old home. And people would come in, they sit on the couch, and every now and then people do lay down on the couch too, kind of like that stereotypical psychoanalytical image that you often see when there's memes about psychotherapy. But most people do sit across from me on a couch, and they come in together. Sometimes, well, with couples counseling, I often see couples together, then I will see them separately, kind of give them a chance to explore their individual issues, and then usually we work together again.
Do people come in as a couple and sometimes you say one of them after the fact, look, there's no hope here. You guys should just give it up?
Oh, I don't say it that bluntly, but there are difficult conversations where I do have to say, yeah, explore with them what's keeping them in the marriage, because sometimes it's unhealthy reasons that people stay in marriages. And
like kids or what?
Oh, many people want to stay in relationships for the children, that's for sure. And often I have to tell them that staying in a relationship for the children is not a good reason, for many reasons, but one of them is that you're really modeling to them that this is what a relationship should look like. And if you're modeling unhappiness, your children are more than likely to end up in an unhappy relationship themselves.
There's this line that alcoholism and addiction runs down in generations. Does divorce run in generations as well?
I'm not sure that research has been done on that yet. What you will find is if you've had a very unhealthy divorce, you'll often find that will impact your children's ability to be in a healthy relationship. But if you've had a very amicable divorce that didn't involve the children in any conflict, you find that has very little impact on the children and their success in relationships and success in life altogether.
Okay, so when you get people in, a couple in, what do? You ask them a bunch of questions?
Yep, actually I do. I absolutely talk to them about what's going on in their relationship, what needs are not being met, what conflicts are happening, because conflicts are always an opportunity for growth. So talking about conflicts is very, very important for me. Then we talk about different ways to make changes. Often, you're going to make sort of surface level changes like communication and behavioral changes, but often you have to get to the underlying needs that are not being met for the relationship. And one of the topics that we talk about is love languages.
Okay, let's get to the love languages in the next segment, but let's continue on. So you get them to talk about conflict. you want them to describe their fights?
Yes, I want them to describe how they fight, and I want them to describe what they fight about. Absolutely.
My dad used to tell me never go to bed angry. So no matter what the argument is or the fight is, make sure you love each other before you go to sleep.
That works in a lot of relationships. In some relationships, I do suggest to them to take 24 hours when there's high conflict and when they are not good communicators, because often one person will come back, try to resolve it, and they end up escalating the situation again. So
Right.
It all depends on the relationship and the individuals involved.
We're chatting with Satinder Brar this evening, a registered psychotherapist, about relationships. And we're going to take a break and come back and talk about the 5 love languages. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour, Saga 960 AM. We're chatting tonight with Satinder Brar, who is a registered psychotherapist. And we're talking about relationships. And she told me that she likes to talk about the 5 love languages. Satinder, what are the 5 love languages?
The 5 love languages is an idea that was created by a psychologist by the name of Gary Chapman. And after he had been working with couples in crisis for many years, it became apparent to him that what makes one person feel loved isn't always the same for the partner or the spouse. So he discovered that every person that he was working with understands and receives love in a specific language. And he proposed that there were 5 of these languages. And he said that most people have one predominant one, and then there are 4 others that are just as important, but the main one is what we need to know about our partner.
Okay.
So what he says is that it's understanding your own way of expressing love is important, but more important is understanding your partner's and understanding how those expressions of love can be different or similar. And once you know what the love languages are, you're able to know what your partner wants, and
Let me interrupt. I apologize. What you said is how they express love. I had understood that the 5 love languages are what they needed to hear or have done to them, that it was how they want to receive love, not how they give love, but how they receive love. Is there a difference?
It's both, right? For you, it's about how you express it, and to learn how, and you also need to learn how your partner receives love. And so there's basically 5 different ones. So maybe we'll go over those and then we can kind of break it down.
Okay.
So there's 5 different love languages. The first one is called words of affirmation. And according to Chapman, people with this love language need to hear their partner say, "I love you." But even more than just saying, "I love you," they need to know, why are the reasons? Why do you love me? What's behind this love? And it can be it can be spoken or it can be written, but an example is, just saying thank you, or that was nice of you. I appreciate that you made me dinner. You look really amazing today. So that's kind of expressing it or receiving it through words.
Okay. And if you need to hear words of affirmation, do you tend to be someone that provides words of affirmation?
No, that's the tricky part. Often people, the way they express love can be different than the way they want to receive it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. The second one is quality time. And this love language is all about giving your partner your undivided attention. And that's a really challenging one in our day and age, because that means no TV, no cell phone, no other distractions. So it means spending time with your partner and being just with your partner, paying attention to each other, sharing something meaningful, listening, communicating. It can include preparing dinner together and talking while preparing it. It can include just talking about your future together. It can be intimacy. But it can't be that we're just sitting on the sofa while each of us are on our phones.
Right.
That's not quality time.
Okay.
Okay. The next one is gifts. So the person who has this love language thrives on the love and the thoughtfulness and the effort that goes behind the gift. Right? So it's not, and I think for this one, what I've seen with my couples is it can be just the gift. And then for some people, it really is the thought behind the gift.
Right.
And it's about picking the right gift.
Okay.
And this act tells your partner that you cared enough to think about them or her or him in advance, and you went out of your way to get something that would be meaningful. Okay, the fourth one, acts of service. This includes
making dinner, taking out the garbage, doing the laundry.
Yes, absolutely. Anything that eases the burden of responsibility.
Okay.
Right? Vacuuming the floors, taking out the garbage, doing grocery shopping. Thinking about what it is that they would like that would make their life a lot easier. It can be making breakfast in bed, walking the dog, just about anything that you can do to simplify life.
Okay.
And then the last one is physical touch.
Okay.
So people who speak this love language thrive on any type of physical touch. Hand holding, hugs, pats on the back. Just being really intentional about finding ways to express your love through physical touch, giving hugs, touching. Some people like to hold hands when they're driving, a back rub, a neck rub, any one of those.
Right. Now you haven't mentioned sex. Is sex physical touch, or is it different? Because I know people that want that hug, want that touch, that hand holding, but aren't interested necessarily in the sex.
That you can find that. So sex kind of goes in between. Some people will kind of think of it as physical touch. Some people will think of it under quality time.
Okay.
So it can kind of shoot two birds with one stone even.
You don't think it's a separate one?
No, Chapman didn't think it was a separate one. Dr. Chapman, who came up with this idea, felt like sex came under physical touch or quality time.
Okay. And so what you're saying to couples when they come to see you is figure out what the love language is of your partner, and figure out what your own love language is, such that you, number one, can tell your partner, give me the physical touch or give me the words of affirmation I need. And second of all, that you can figure out that they need the quality time or the acts of service, and you can provide that to them. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And does it help? Does it work? Have you used it?
It does. Absolutely. It works for a lot of clients, because what I see is there's often a lot of misfires. Is that I'll have clients who will say, I don't know why let's just say the woman will say, you know what, I just don't feel like he loves me. And he's like, but I come home every day and make dinner. And she's like, yeah, but what I want is for you to just hold me when you get home. And he's like, there's so much to do. So you can see that his love language of expression is acts of service. He thinks coming home when she's been with the kids all day and coming home and, starting dinner is showing love. But she's saying, you know what, I just need 5 minutes of hugging and kissing and just you to touch me. So it does work once people figure out what their love language is and what their partner's is.
Why do we have different love languages? Is this something that we're socialized into by our families when we're raised, or is it genetic or what?
I think a lot of it has to do with what we learn and what we see in our families, definitely. Some of it could be genetic and how we're just wired, but I think a lot of it is the messaging that we received and what we saw as children.
It's interesting because I love making dinner. And my mom, when I was growing up, would always, have dinner ready for my dad when he came home. And it was one of the best times we had as a family, sitting down at the dinner table and discussing how the day was and arguing and discussing. And
Mm-hmm.
debate politics and economics and stuff like that, and religion. So it was a very good quality time for the family, but it was something that she did.
Mm-hmm. So so as we're growing up, our brain, the neural pathways get formed in our brain, and if that's what was your experience, it would get formed in your brain that making dinner is a time of love and connection, right? So
And
now,
have you had couples that were close to separation or divorce and they learned the love languages and saved their marriages?
absolutely.
Really
And
fantastic.
I don't think it's the only thing that'll save you, but knowing this can definitely create a shift. I've had couples who've come in and it's not always the first thing I talk about, but if, sometimes couples have heard about this idea, but don't know much about it.
Yeah.
So they might bring it up. And as we explore it very early on in therapy, they really start making the connections. And I've had a couple of couples that after 1 or 2 sessions have made drastic changes after learning about these love languages, and then created that foundation that they were able to work on to improve their relationship.
Excellent. So let's review. So words of affirmation,
Yep.
quality time,
Yep.
gifts, acts of service, and physical touch are the 5 love languages.
Absolutely.
And I'd probably add another one in there, but you'd debate it.
Yep.
Okay. Well, this is great. And if people want to come and access your services to talk about relationship counseling, how do they do that?
Oh, you can check me out on my website. Most people take a look at my website first, which is at www.satinderbrar.ca, or they will find me on Psychology Today listings, or they can give me a call at 647-302-6995.
Satinder Brar, registered psychotherapist. Thanks for joining us. We're going to take a break and come right back. Stay with us.